Welcome to everybody. We're not going to get started quite yet. We're waiting for a few more people to log in. However, if you happen to have the moment to do so, would you mind hovering over your picture and 3 dots will appear in the top right corner? Would you mind renaming yourself using your daughter's name so we can see all the girls who are on the call? We'll get started in just a minute.
The kids here. I wonder why already.
Okay, well, I think we're ready to get started. Welcome so much to this evening's program. I'm Jillian Pagliacca, the Associate Director of Admissions at Marymount. I'm so glad to see so many of you here tonight, some of you even with desserts in hand. We're here to learn more about Marymount's Upper School. Before we get started though, a couple of housekeeping details. For the moment, we have muted you to improve audio quality for our presenters. I see that many of you have already made sure that your daughter's name appears underneath your picture. You do that by hovering over your picture and 3 dots will appear in the corner and you can rename yourself that way. I think let's make sure everyone's muted. Okay. We also recommend that you select speaker view. So we can pull down that opening slide, Ms. Lonergan. And when speaker view is selected, you should be able to see the presenter speaking clearly. Finally, the last thing I do before we get started is to open up your chat function by clicking on chat at the bottom of your screen. We have a handful of upper school students on this call. They will be speaking to you later tonight, but we've actually invited them to have the ability to chime in on the chat throughout the evening whenever they would like to make an observation, and you might enjoy hearing what they have to say. So tonight on this call are families whose daughters have dreamed of coming to Marymount for years. There's some families who have girls in the upper school and their little sisters are hoping to join them in the upper school. We also have some of our own 7th grade families who know a lot about our lower divisions, but not nearly as much about our upper school. So everyone's coming here from a slightly different place, but we welcome all of you. We're so glad you're here. The program that we have planned is going to last about an hour. For the first segment, you'll hear from a number of our upper school administrators, including our divisional head, our history department chair, director of academic and global programs, our co-director of college counseling. Our diversity coordinator had planned to join us, but she had a last-minute conflict, but I'll make sure that you have her contact information if you would like to get a hold of her. In the second half of the program, you will hear from the upper school girls. So in order to kick things off, I thought that we would begin with a poll. And what I'm gonna do is have you take a look at some facts that may or may not be true about Marymount. So up on your screen right now, you'll see quite a few facts. One of them is false. So let's see if you can figure out which one it is. Marymount is part of a 19-school international network. The upper school has 49 student-run clubs. We have 2 classrooms inside the Met Museum. Marymount teachers with doctorate degrees only teach seniors. 67% of our families are Catholic. Marymount's first graduating class was in 1928. 25% of upper school students live outside of Manhattan. So take a minute and guess, which one do you think is not true of Marymount? Okay, I'm going to give this just one more second. Actually, quite a few of you have not voted yet. This must be a tricky question. All right, I'm going to close the poll in 1, 2, 3 seconds. People are still voting. I'm not closing the poll. Okay, ending the poll now. Okay, now I'm going to share your results. Okay, the most popular option is in fact the correct answer. So we are part of a 19-school international network. We do have 49 student-run clubs this year. You'll be hearing about some of them from the girls in a moment. We do have 2 classrooms inside the Met Museum. 67% of our families are Catholic. The other 33% represent many other faith traditions. Marymount's first graduating class, I believe there were 2 students, graduated in 1928. And about a quarter of our upper school families travel in from outside Manhattan. Okay. So, the reason I wanted to start with that poll is because there's a lot of quantifiables that make Marymount what we are, but there are also a lot of intangibles. And I'm thinking of the quiet conversation in the hallway where the teacher saw that the student was upset in class, the coach that emails one of his players to say that he noticed that she put a special effort into practice. I'm thinking of, you know, hangouts in the tea house and girls running out of campus down the front steps and onto Fifth Avenue as they go to get a bite for lunch. So these are some of the intangibles that we hope to try to share with you this evening. And actually one of those intangibles is our beloved head of the upper school, Sabra Mackenzie Hamilton. And I'd like to turn things over to her for a moment.
It is really wonderful to see all of you. I was scrolling through and wish I could welcome you in person, but I'm here right now with a big filled heart and really want to express gratitude for you by showing up, and also gratitude to the team, especially our ambassadors and faculty who are here with us tonight. I really want to take some time tonight to ask you to use your imaginations to think ahead with us into an unknown future. This gathering, under normal circumstances, would happen at our Fifth Avenue campus and be an opportunity for you to feel the warmth of our teachers and student ambassadors, get a taste of our rigorous academic program, and feel in 3 dimensions the dynamic combination of tradition and innovation. As 7th graders, it's a chance for you to stand wide-eyed with your families at what might be possible for you at Marymount. However, because this is an unusual season of letting go and of reimagining many things, I challenge you to embrace with hope and anticipation this 2-dimensional space, to focus on what is possible rather than what is not, and to invite you to feel and not just see and hear the many stories that make up Marymount, no matter the setting we are in. And there are really so many things to say about our Marymount community, but I think I'm just going to focus on some of the remarkable ones that have been happening over the last 2 months. We've transformed in a very short time over 150 classes, 29 advisory groups, and almost 50 clubs. And in so doing, we've had an explosion of creativity. We had choral video produced by past and present Marymount singers in honor of our headmistress. We had a talented cast singing and dancing in their apartments to create a virtual rendition of our spring production of Shrek, right down to the donkey's jokes and the princess's transformation, all under the guidance of our director who works with Broadway cast members. We have a student newspaper entirely committed to covering COVID-19. Our annual competition of impact moved entirely online to support 19 local social service organizations. Over 30 students became pen pals or part of the literacy tutoring program at Gigi's Playhouse. And this is not to mention our impressive literary journal, our art show that went online, and multiple capstone academic projects in our history, independent science research, and ethics. Just today, our AP Physics class shared with us their service learning project to create STEM-based walking tours in public spaces called Walk Stems. And of course, there are term papers as well. But what I have found most meaningful during this time is something that has deep roots at Marymount and is something that continues to be lived out despite the format of our teaching and learning. It's something quite simple, and it's the fact that our faculty builds and maintains real, authentic connections with our students on a daily basis. This happens in the classrooms and hallways of our buildings, and it continues to happen in the Zoom or Google Meet rooms of cyberspace. The heart of our community beats wherever we are. You're going to understand what I mean when you hear directly from our faculty. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Dr. Spicer, our History Department Chair and moderator of the Jureton.
Hi, everybody. I'll try and live up to that as best I can. I want to speak to you a little bit about the History Department, and hopefully that can serve as a window into the upper school approach in general. I think the thing that's most exciting about our department is we have sort of two really unique features that bookend your experience. One of those will be much more on your radar than the other, and that's the 9th grade experience. The other is really the 12th grade experience, and that's where we close out. The 9th grade experience you may have heard about before, but it's our humanities program. And it's pretty extraordinary. We lay a foundation of ancient history, basically a foundation that you can then pick up on in future years. And we study ancient Greece and ancient Rome. We study the ancient Middle East. We study ancient India. We study ancient China. But it's not just history, because you actually have 3 teachers in the room, essentially. You have your history teacher, very likely me, and we're covering what's happening militarily and politically and culturally and economically. But then your English teacher is there, and you're reading what's happening. So if we're talking about what's happening in those ways in Greece, with your English teacher, you're studying the Odyssey. And then meanwhile, you're going across the street to the Met with your art history teacher and looking at the artifacts and objects and images from that very period. So it's a pretty exceptional program. I find myself jealous of the students sometimes and wish I'd had the opportunity to do it when I was their age. Senior year, you get to, and I know this probably feels like very, very distant future right now, but it will come. Senior year, you get to pick. So we do a survey every spring, and we basically design our courses based on what the juniors, the rising seniors, tell us they want to do. These are sort of college-style senior seminars, and they really change. You know, last year we had a women's rights course. Some years we have a modern China course. Next year we have some brand new finance courses coming. I'm going to keep that brief because I know it's not really on the forefront of what you're thinking about, but it's another unique feature. And I think that unique 9th grade experience and unique 12th grade experience together bookend these foundational courses in the middle, where we essentially lay the groundwork for understanding how the modern world has emerged from everything that's come before, with a global course in 10th grade, and then a series of US history courses in 11th grade. The point is we're trying to develop skills, right? So we're talking about research, we're talking about the ability to have collaborative discussions. Most of all, we're talking about critical thinking. And so while I've devoted most of my time here to talking about history, I think those skills apply more broadly. I feel relatively confident that if the other teachers were all behind me sitting next to this laptop, they would agree that those are kind of the central skills that you're learning, not just in history, but in English, and I think math and science, although I'll admit history is really my forte. So it's wonderful to meet you all, even in this unusual circumstance, and I wish you all the best. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kuttner, Kara Kuttner, who is our Director of Global and Academic Programs. So thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here to speak with you this evening about global education at Marymount. As you may know, an essential part of the Marymount mission is to educate young women to challenge, shape, and change the world. Our global programs directly support that mission. So our goal is to prepare students to be global change makers with the knowledge, skills, and empathy to engage ethically in our interconnected global community. To be effective change makers in the world, you need to have a passion for inquiry, a commitment to seek multiple perspectives, and the courage to advocate for others. Marymount students know that a common humanity binds everyone around the globe. So how do we educate these bold risk takers, invested citizens, and committed agents of change who strive for social justice and equity for everyone? We start with a rich, globally minded curriculum, which you learned a little bit about from Dr. Spizer's perspective on the history department. Courses in the upper school like world religions, modern China, global history, race, class, and gender, and our amazing world language program bring the world to our students in the classroom. Have you heard about the Marymount portal? Our portal gives us a unique classroom experience, connecting students and teachers with folks around the globe for conversations connected to coursework, or simply to learn about life and culture in a different place. Our connections include Erbil, Iraq, Tampico, Mexico, Gaza City, Palestine, Berlin, Germany, Lesbos, Greece, Herat, Afghanistan, and many others. Marymount is the only New York City independent school that has a portal. Our extensive exchange program allows students to experience linguistic and cultural immersion by living with host families and attending school in France, Spain, Colombia, and Brazil. Each year, students from these countries come to Marymount too. So even if you don't go on an exchange, you will learn alongside new friends who bring different cultural perspectives to our community. How would you like to learn Spanish in Barcelona or Madrid? Explore Medellin or Rio? Visit museums with your host family in France? Well, you can. Marymount sophomores also have an opportunity to spend a semester abroad at Marymount London or Marymount Rome. And we have many other opportunities for students to get out into the world and learn by experiencing it. Our annual Global Journey provides students a chance to learn up close about cultures and investigate real-world pressing issues. Recent programs took Marymount students to Cuba, Rome and Pompeii, Jordan, and Peru. Our Oxford History Seminar, of which Dr. Spizer is a part, taught by Marymount and Oxford professors, takes place each March. The Marymount Singers perform annually around the globe, and each spring, students have a chance to participate in important purpose-driven service programs. And of course, being part of the Marymount Global Network of Schools, 19 schools around the world, and our RSHM position at the United Nations means that we are working together always to make the world a better place. Class 9 students get to visit the United Nations and learn more about this important work. So that's just a glimpse of all the great things global that await you in Marymount's upper school. Now I'm going to send this over to Ms. Blumberg, with whom I work in our college counseling office, who will give you a sense of what the college process looks like.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kuttner. Good evening, everyone. I imagine that the college process feels far off for those of you who are currently in 7th grade. And so I'm going to talk to the students first, and then I'll talk to the parents. Students, it's good that college feels a long way off. It should. At Marymount, we start the college process in the middle of your 3rd year, junior year. We really want your first years of high school to be focused on doing well in your classes, finding your passions in the classroom and in clubs and in sports. We support our students in finding colleges that are a good fit. For some students, that means a traditional college where they can study English, economics, or biology. Others are interested in engineering or the arts. We send students to big universities and small ones, schools in cities and schools in rural areas. They go to school all over the United States, from New York to Texas to California, and some even go to international schools too. And I know that we have some seniors with us this evening, and I will ask them to type into the chat where they'll be going to college in the fall and anything else they want to share about themselves, if they're playing a sport or if they're studying something in particular that they're excited about. So we really work with each student to find the best school for her. Now, parents, you might be wondering about a few more specifics about our college counseling program. We really dive into the college process in 11th grade, where we kick things off with a senior college admissions representative who speaks with families about the college process. This year, Dr. Terry McHugh, Senior Associate Dean of Admissions at Kenyon College, spoke with our families. We also have college guidance classes twice in an 8-day cycle in which we talk about resume building, interview skills, essay writings, and more. We meet individually with students and with their families. Students also take the PSAT starting in 9th grade. In the College Counseling Office, we build a tiered list of schools for each student with reach, target, and likely schools tailored to her to make sure she's reaching for her goals. We bring in over 100 different university representatives to campus each fall, and we have college visiting days for seniors too. And we also have students who go through the athletic recruitment process. This year we have 4 Division I committed student athletes. So I know that this college process feels a long way off as your family moves through the high school application process, but we'll be here down the road when your daughter is applying to college. For now, enjoy this high school process. And with that, I will turn it back over to Ms. Pagliacca. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ms. Blumberg, and all of our wonderful administrators. Now I'd like to turn things over to our student panel. So we have 6 girls with us here tonight, 5 seniors and 1 junior. All of them are student leaders and student athletes. They are fun, they are smart, they are awesome. I love working with them, and I can't wait for you to meet them. So welcome to Anjali and Sydney, Carla, Kristen, Alice, and Sophia. You can also identify the girls if you can't see them readily on your screen by the little lion icon, go Lions, that's just before their name. The Roman number in Roman numerals after their name represents their class year. So my first question, I think I'm going to throw to Kristen. It makes sense for us to start off talking about academics. Can you describe what it's like learning in the upper school and maybe highlight a favorite course, Kristen?
Hi everyone, I'm Kristen, so nice to see you all. I'd love to talk about my Spanish course. I would describe learning in Marymount as highly immersive, as you probably picked up on from Dr. Spizer's description of the humanities course and Ms. Kuttner's explanation of our globally minded curriculum and exchange programs. And this remains true even during this period of distance learning. So with the language, it's key. And in my Spanish class, my teacher believes this deeply, that learning a language is necessary when attempting to understand a culture. And my teacher actually has a connection with a boys' school in Peru. And we connect with them throughout the school year via Zoom, Skype, and messaging platforms online. And it's an opportunity for students there to practice their English and for us to practice our Spanish and just to learn generally about our respective cultures. And last week, my AP Spanish class was actually able to speak with one of our friends at this school, J-Cod, and he spoke to us in Spanish about his experience with coronavirus and what life is like in Peru right now. And we were able to answer his questions about life in the States at this moment in time, and we'll maintain this connection, and I'm really appreciative for it.
Adding on to Kristen, my AP Calculus class has helped me continue to love math, as I did throughout all of my years at Marymount so far. Mrs. O'Doherty, my AP Calculus teacher, has been so accommodating, especially during these tough times, and even created a new curriculum to help us since we shifted to virtual learning. She calls our tests celebrations and brings us bagels after every said celebration. And she makes math really fun and engaging. The AP is actually a week from today, and I feel really prepared and I'm ready for it. Additionally, Marymount also has an amazing mathletes team, of which I'm the president of right now, and my sister was before. And we compete in several national contests throughout the school year, and it really brings the team together while preparing for these tough exams. This club has helped me develop my passion and love for math and problem-solving skills, and helps me to see math in a different light. Fun fact, I also wrote a college supplement on this club. So.
Thanks, girls. I appreciate that. You started highlighting your teachers a little bit. I'm wondering if anybody else would like to jump in and highlight a teacher. I know there are some teachers on this call, but if you would like to highlight one of your teachers, feel free to jump in.
I think I'll answer this question. Hi everyone, I'm Sydney, I'm a senior. And all teachers at Marymount are absolutely amazing, and I could talk about any one of them, but I've chosen to talk about one you've already heard from. Dr. Spicer has been an amazing teacher for the past 4 years. I had him my freshman and sophomore year, and he's so passionate and well educated about what he's talking about. As you can tell, no, we didn't actually, but he's always so willing to like go the extra mile for his students, and that carried throughout the rest of my high school years, even though I didn't have him my junior or senior year when I was deciding on UVA to go to college, which he happened to go to. He was really helpful in making that decision for me and telling me everything that I needed to know about the school and helping to talk about what I need in a school as well as what the school had to offer me, because he knew me so well. So
Wow, I mean, the history department at Marymount kind of kills it. I'm sad I never got to have Miss Dr. Spicer, but I did have Dr. Cornelis, and he is probably one of the most influential teachers that I've had, because Dr. Cornelis has like ignited in me a passion for finance and economics when I had him for the first time in sophomore year as my global history teacher, actually. He introduced me to the Bloomberg's Markets course, which is a 10-hour kind of course that covers the basics of financial literacy, if you guys haven't heard of that already. He is always so available to help me through that difficult content, and he always gave me opportunities to expand my horizons that were outside of school and related to finance. A couple of other girls and I actually were able to have a conversation with the Countess of Wessex for a Women in Finance event, which was an amazing opportunity he presented us with. And the best thing about him is that he's really funny, so all the content becomes a lot more relatable, and it's a lot more easy to learn. I think my favorite memory, it's a really random memory he probably wouldn't remember, but it was during our Bloomberg Trading Challenge last year, and we were calling back Bloomberg because they weren't like answering our questions. And I just remember noticing like the passion he had for our trading team and the work he was doing. And for that, now finance and economics is something I'm going to go and study in college, and it's a guiding force in my life.
Thank you, Anjali, and Sydney as well. For those of you who haven't jumped in on the conversation yet, panelists, are there any perhaps recent assignments or work you've been doing in your classes that would be interesting for the group to hear about?
Yeah, well, I'm Sophia, and my favorite assignment this past week was actually an open-ended prompt about Frankenstein, since we just finished reading it in our honors British literature course. And I was very interested in the ethical questions that were raised throughout the course of the novel. So I set the plot in 2020, hopefully Mary Shelley won't mind. And I invited the European nations that Victor Frankenstein visits to a conference to discuss two aspects of the ethics of scientific progress. So the first one was thinking about the ethics of toying with life. And like, for example, with synthetic embryos today, how this scientific advancement, like, is it really an advancement, or will it only strengthen the class and wealth divide of today? And the second was a question about the ethics of fast knowledge versus slow knowledge or wisdom. So living in a consumer society where the more the better is like the mantra, how do we find sustainability in what we buy, believe, vote for, instead of relying only on fast knowledge? And I think creative and rigorous assignments like this really mark Marymount's goal of engaging every student in reaching her potential.
Thanks, Sophia.
I'd also love to chime in here. So I'm currently taking a data visualization course, which is, I'm so glad that Marymount offers this course, because it's highly unique, but also applicable. The skills I'm learning here I'll take with me in college and beyond when I observe graphs and come across visualizations of data in the news. So right now we're looking at different graphs and charts on COVID-19 to explore the implications of the virus globally and locally. And we're using this site called Flourish to create our own graphs. And we're walking away with having produced this really substantive and impressive content. And I've been messing around with it on my own, and I just created a graph that compared the income per person with life expectancy in every country over a period of 70 years. And I've never expected to be able to do something like that. And I'll bring the skill with me to college and beyond.
So continuing with that, in my science independent research course, I'm able to switch roles with the teacher basically. So during this period of isolation, I was able to continue my independent research on things that I find interesting. Then I present these topics to my teacher while simultaneously preparing myself for my college major through this deep dive of certain topics. So I have 2 weeks each time to prepare a presentation, and the topics that I've presented range from tissue engineering to biofluid mechanics to the computational components of bioinformatics. I know those are big words, but I feel more prepared now for college.
I said, I don't even know what some of those words mean. You'll have to tell me after the call.
Of course. But now I feel a lot more prepared for college, and I'm able to have fun doing it. So it's really a win-win for me.
Thank you guys so much for sharing all that. How about we have another audience participation moment? We'll take a break in our panel, and you guys can take a list of some upper school courses, since we were just talking about all those courses. Here is a list, and if you kind of look at your panel that just came up on the screen and scroll all the way down, these are all classes that are offered this year at Marymount. I'd be curious to hear which one you would love to take if you could pick one. So I put a few English electives or English senior courses up there first. I teach English, so I'm a little biased. So English 12, Mad Women and Marriages, or Bodies and Machines, or Ghosts in the Attic, AP Statistics, the finance course that Anjali alluded to, Middle Eastern Studies and Data Viz. Kristen talked a little bit about that, Race, Class, Gender, Introduction to iOS App Development, AP Computer Science, and I wanted to throw something up there for World Language, Advanced Latin, Poetry Survey. So I'll give you a minute to think about, say you're in high school at Marymount, which one of these courses would be most appealing to you? And the survey results are coming in. It's a lot to process. Luckily, you wouldn't just have to pick one, but for the purposes of the survey, you can just pick one. I'll give you just 5 more seconds to make your choices. We still have, there's so many people on this call. We've got about 75% of people having voted so far. I'll just leave it up for a couple of more seconds. All right, gonna end the poll and let's see, I'm curious. So it looks like our winner was finance via Bloomberg, but it looks like every single course had at least some votes. Good to know. And I think as Dr. Spicer was saying, some courses rotate year to year depending on the voting of the juniors in the spring. So those are not always the same. Okay. Panelists, can I throw you a couple of more questions? Yes? All right, great. Well, we talked a lot about academics, and I wanted to make sure we had a chance to talk about some of the other things you love about Marymount. I am guessing clubs and sports are going to be easy for you to talk about. In fact, girls, this is your cue to throw in the chat a list of all the sports and clubs that you were in, and I will tell everyone that I had to have them do this in advance, because once you look in the chat, you'll see these girls are doing an insane amount of things. They want to be involved in everything. So they're listing out for you in the chat the name of the organization they're involved in, and then whether they're playing a leadership role in that club or sport. And I don't think you've had a chance to hear from Carla yet. So I'm gonna go right to Carla.
Hi guys. So I'm going to talk about clubs at Marymount. So as you can see in the chat, we all do a lot of stuff, but they're definitely not for like college apps or resumes, but because we all like truly love and are passionate for what we do. I'm going to talk about one of the activities that I'm most heavily invested in, which is called Graceful Leaders. GRACE is Marymount's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program, and it stands for Global Relationships and Cultural Exchange. So as a Graceful Leader, I'm technically part of the quote-unquote student government of diversity for this program. And this group is made up of presidents and vice presidents of our affinity groups at Marymount. So I'm president of our Asian affinity group, and I'm a co-president of the Graceful Leaders, so a president of the presidents, if you will. Sydney is actually my co-president, so I'm gonna pass it to her maybe if you want to talk about the affinity groups at Marymount.
Sure. So as she mentioned, I'm her co-president, and I am currently president of the Black Rose Rock, which is our Black affinity space here at Marymount. We also have Kristen, who on this panel, who is president of WOW, which is our feminist club. We also have Latinx Affinity. We have PRISM, which is our LGBTQ+ Alliance network. We also have Anjali, who's a Graceful Leader, and she is president of Campus Ministry. It's a very large network of people who are in this club, but it's really helpful to have this many people working together to help promote diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah. Okay.
Go, Carla.
Sorry, Kristen. Also, as Graceful Leaders, we also run school-wide events such as Bias Awareness Day or LGBTQ+ Visibility Week. We also run the Grace Dinner for Parents. Yeah, Ms. Blumberg got it, the Grace Dinner. And we also put on a biannual Black History Month show called Harambe. And just another thing really quickly that I want to talk about that I love so much is our varsity basketball team. I've been on it since I came to Marymount in freshman year, and I've been a captain for the past 2 years, and our coaches are fantastic, and we're such a tight-knit group, and I can say that I've met some of my best friends through basketball, and I know I can count on them for anything. So that's just a little point I wanted to make, but go ahead, Kristen.
What I was going to say when I rudely interrupted Carla was that she and Sydney are they're the most incredible presidents of Grace. And as Sydney mentioned, I have the honor of being co-president of our feminist club, which is the Women in Our World Feminist Club, WOW for short. And one of the proudest moments in my Marymount career was helping to lead the WOW Summit, which is an annual event meant to promote female empowerment. And we invite speakers from a wide variety of fields to speak about their work promoting gender equality. And we invite students from across the tri-state area to hear from these speakers and to engage in conversations about gender equality. And we've featured some really impressive speakers. This year we heard from the president of the National Organization for Women in New York City. And in the past, we've heard from Lima Bowie and some really huge names. But I could not be happier with the accomplishments we've made as a club. After the summit one year, we had students from Regis who attended, and they said that their minds were really opened and they learned a lot from all of us and sharing our experiences and from these speakers. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, so thank you, Kristen. So the clubs range from WOW to Knitting Club to Model United Nations. And this range is really a testament to the individuality of each Marymount girl, but also how we come together in these groups and just as a melting pot to make our communities better. And so in 10th grade, we take chemistry, and our teacher, Miss Bauer, has the greatest energy. And so I love cooking. So I would go to her office and ask her, why are my cookies browning in the oven? Or what makes my popcorn pop? And so all of these questions we realized were so cool and interesting that I decided to create a club called the Kitchen Chemistry Club. So each cycle we meet and we make an experiment of food, and then we discuss the chemical processes about that. So for example, one of my favorite examples was making French fries. So I've always been a fan of McDonald's French fries, but by the time we made ours, the McDonald's French fries were left very far behind. And then, of course, we talk about the chemical processes happening in the food. So how the molecules affect the flavor and the texture in our foods. And then another incredible way in which we bond, and then sometimes around food as well, is through sports. So I've been on the varsity cross country team and on the varsity track and field team since 8th and 9th grades, and the endurance and the perseverance and especially the team spirit that we find there is just so inspiring and super, super fun.
Anybody else want to chime in before I go to the next question? Okay, I'm going to go to the next question. Thank you, girls. I'm like exhausted hearing about all the things you do, and clearly you bring passion to every single thing. That's why I love hanging out with you so much. So another question I wanted to ask, I'm trying to anticipate questions that would have come up among this group, and I know that some families have their girls now at public schools or non-Catholic schools. I'm wondering if someone would like to talk a little bit about what it's like to go to a Catholic school, if that has not been your experience in the past.
Yeah, so my experience with spiritual life at Marymount is unique, as it is for everyone at Marymount. So before Marymount, I actually went to a Catholic school, and I made the conscious decision to become a Catholic when I was in 7th grade. Thus, when I came to Marymount, I felt more in touch with my new identity as a Catholic, and the religious studies office and the religious courses, once I entered here, helped me solidify my beliefs in the doctrine and help put my faith into action. At the end of the day, though, spiritual life at Marymount boils down to Christian values of love, acceptance, kindness, and not everyone at Marymount is Catholic. I don't know if you guys remember from the first poll, but 67% is of the student body is Catholic, and Marymount encourages us to learn about different faiths and experiences, because that's what makes us human, and that's what makes us more connected to each other. My most memorable experiences with the spiritual life department at Marymount, or when I gave my 2 chapel reflections at Marymount, one in my sophomore year and one this year. So chapel is when the entire school community gets together once a cycle we're on an 8-day cycle to have a student-led prayer service and to reflect and just be in touch with yourself for a moment. And my first reflection in sophomore year was about my interest in volunteerism, and my second one, which was this year, was about my experience as an Indian American. And for me, everyone was so attentive and so supportive of my story and ambitions. And it just helped me realize that spiritual life at Marymount is just about connecting ourselves emotionally to the world and being in touch with who we are, who we want to be, and to learn more about our fellow citizens of the world.
Also, really quickly, Anjali touched upon Marymount's commitment to the values of faith and action, and I think the greatest example of this is our sophomore year religious department course, which is social justice. And each student engages in this incredible project called Impact, which is Marymount Philanthropy and Community Transformation. And students assemble into different groups and select a topic that they want to, or a cause that they want to fight for. They choose an organization, a nonprofit in the city, and compete to win a grant for this organization. So Anjali and I chose intimate partner violence as our cause, and then we chose the organization Day One New York, which works with teen victims of intimate partner violence, and we were able to win them a $10,000 grant, which really made a difference in their daily operations. And it really just proved Marymount's commitment to the values of faith and action, which have really changed my life.
Thank you, Kristen. Actually, I was on the call last night. The sophomores found out which groups from Impact are going to the finals. And it was really cool to do it on a Zoom call, because you could see groups celebrating with their families when they found out that they were moving on to the finals. It was really awesome. Another question that I thought families or girls might have, if they're coming from a co-ed school and considering single gender, would anybody like to take that one?
Yeah, I can start. So I went to a small co-ed school from like pre-K to 8th grade, and I got along with and like was friends with a lot of the guys, and for that reason, like all girls schools were never really big on my high school radar. But Marymount did have so much to offer that didn't really matter to me, and I can tell you now that I would make that choice again. And honestly, you don't even notice that there are no boys because everyone's like so cool. Um, and also, this isn't something that you think about much, but the all girl environment really allows you to use your voice in the classroom and step out of your comfort zone. It's something that I've noticed changed significantly about me in my past 4 years, and I'm super thankful to Marymount for that.
Adding on to Carla's point, Marymount also has joint club meetings with He for She, the Regis Feminist Club. So Kristen, the president of our WOW Club, which we've mentioned before, sets meetings for fun events, combining the He for She Club and the WOW Club to have discussions on certain topics and even more fun events such as trivia night. So I have been really lucky to be able to go to these events, and honestly, the experience is unforgettable. Like, you would be surprised to see how much these boys know about women history. These events are a great way to meet boys while also being a part of this joint organization that empowers girls to know what it means to be a young woman in this world.
Thank you. That was lovely. And I think I just probably have time for one more question to go around. And I know that a lot of middle school girls, I have heard from time to time, feel like their schedule is so jam-packed that they really don't have the opportunity to have free periods or make choices about how to spend time when they're not in class during the school day. I know that all of you have a chance to experience free periods. I'm wondering if somebody would like to talk a little bit about, what happens during those free periods, even, maybe sometimes you're using the time academically, maybe sometimes you're not. How would you break that down for our listeners?
I'll answer this question. So as Ms. Pagliacca mentioned, you have a variety of things that you can do during a free period, academic and not. A lot of the time I will spend either in the math center, which is where all of our math teachers sit. They sit on the window, and if they're in there, they're more than willing to help you with homework, especially because I'm taking AP Calculus with Alice. It's definitely a lot of time that we spend in there going over questions or asking how the AP will look. And it's still the same for even now while we're in quarantine and doing it via Zoom. But also, I like to spend my time doing other things. I know that I spend a lot of time hanging out with teachers more so than going over homework. And one of my favorite things to do that we've started doing is we have ping pong set up in different rooms in the building. And we get to play with the faculty and staff or with other students who have the same free period. And it's so, so much fun and a great way to relax during the rigorous school day that we all tend to have.
Thank you. Yes, I do often love to see the ping pong games going on as I pass through the hall. Does anybody else want to chime in and say anything about that? Free periods? No, you did a good job covering that. I thought, as one last final round, could I give all the panelists a chance to do like a quick rapid fire one-word answer? You guys up for that? Okay, how would you complete this sentence? Marymount is blank. What would you say? Marymount is, and let's see, let's have Anjali start off, and then you guys can just chime in as you chime in.
The most beautiful place with the most beautiful people.
Innovative.
My second home.
Full of opportunities.
My second family.
And Marymount is where I found my voice.
Oh, that's so beautiful. You girls did such a nice job, and I'm sure that if everyone was not muted, they would be giving you a round of applause. So I'll give you a round of applause. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom and insights. I thought it might be fun in our last few minutes to open up the chat to our participants for just a moment. If you wouldn't mind, could you write into the chat, participants on the call, not the panelists this time, what is one thing you learned about Marymount's upper school tonight? Maybe something one of the girls said in a comment, something you learned in a poll. What is one takeaway you have from this evening? And you can type that directly into the chat once you get an idea. So it looks like someone's excited that they can be in more than one club. Yes, with 49, there are lots of times that you can be in clubs. Many voices being heard. Some comments about the global nature of the school. Yep, lots about clubs and courses. Yes, clubs, that's a theme. Okay. I'm gonna have to read these more slowly another time. They're really flying in now. Well, I guess it's safe to say everyone is walking away with something. Oh, I saw ping pong flying by in the chat. Yeah, one big family. Definitely, definitely. Great. Yep, definitely finding their voices. Yeah, Kristen shared that so eloquently. Yep, classrooms at the Met. We didn't talk as much about the humanities course, but our freshmen do use that classroom in the Met every week. Yep, idea of a math league is awesome. Good, Alice, you can recruit for your club. Yep, the portal, that's great. You continue to type in the chat if you like. I just wanted to share a few more concluding thoughts. I was thinking that you may have some questions about what's next in the application process. So in short, if you are looking at Marymount for high school, there are two ways to apply. First, as a regular applicant, and you would follow all the standard application procedures. Our online application goes live on August 15th, and you will find that on our website. Our whole process is digital. So you will be spending a lot of time on our website and through our online portal. For other students, they may decide to compete for one of our Butler Scholar slots. In order to enter the Butler Scholar search, girls need to be in the top of their classes at their schools, and they also need to be nominated by their principals. You can't just apply for this on your own. You have to first be nominated. There's more information about this on our website. If you click on admissions and then scroll down to Butler Scholars, you can read a little bit more about what that entails. I'm imagining many of you will have follow-up questions. I plan to send you an email. It will have my contact information in it. If you have questions for any of the people that you heard speak tonight, any of the girls, or any of the administrators, I would be more than happy to connect you. Girls, that's okay, right? If I connect you with some of these nice people who have questions, great, because you're probably the best ones to answer of all. I just wanna thank you for being here with us. I really enjoyed this time with you talking about our beloved school, and I hope you had a nice time and learned something new. Thank you so much for joining us.